We've got some new details about Marvel's The Eternal. Let's break down a lot of these updates and talk about why some Marvel fans are freaking out. And they shouldn't be. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button and let's get right into this news. So there's actually several things that we need to talk about when it comes to Marvel's The Eternals, and it's really interesting because it's one of those situations where I think people are overreacting to a lot of the things that are going on, but it is also just a super interesting thing to talk about. So let's start with the fact that yes, indeed, there are a lot of rumors that the Eternals production was being rushed originally. Now, I'm going to read right here from an article on MCU Cosmic. Jeremy Conrad kind of does a nice little breakdown of the situation, and then we'll talk about what this means. So I'm going to read right now. Last week, a rumor was publicly surfaced on social media about the production of Eternals, which was being discussed among movie reporters for several months. This probably wasn't going to come out until closer to the film's release when set reports started being published, but it surfaced online following the movie's delay to February 2021. Daniel Richtman told The Direct how the script was reportedly not completely finished when production started, and the biggest thing was that the design of the Black Knight costume wasn't complete. That's something that's going to be fixed in post-production and possible reshoots. Recently, one of the VFX houses said they were working remotely, and word came out that their contracts were canceled. The delay of Eternals will give them a little bit more time to polish the movie, assuming everything with the virus works out and we won't have to shift the whole slate again. Now, what Jeremy is referring to is an article over on The Direct, which I believe used to be the MCU Direct, which Jeremy actually used to work for, and a lot of the great scoopers started out at MCU Direct and now are doing their own thing. But in either case, they got a scoop from Daniel Richtman, who we've talked about a lot on this channel, is a very reliable source for Marvel information, that yes, indeed, the pre-production for the Eternals was rushed. Costumes were not done completely, sets were not entirely finished, and portions of the script were not complete when they went to start shooting. Now, as Jeremy talked about in his article, the biggest thing here was all about Black Knight. Kit Harrington's Black Knight character, who is confirmed, or at least confirmed by Daniel Richtman, to have a comic book accurate costume in the film, except that this costume was not completely figured out yet and is going to be added digitally in CGI to the film later on. There's also a lack of sets being completely done, meaning there will be a lot of visual effects work done on Marvel's Eternals to sort of fill in all of the gaps that they had from, that rushed pre-production. The script was not completely finished, and there were at least portions of this film that were going to sort of be figured out on the fly. Now, I have seen some negativity online about this already, and when I read into Jeremy's comments, what I believe he is saying kind of underhandedly or reading between the lines is that he knew a lot of reporters were holding on to this stuff and they were going to start publishing articles about it as we got closer to the movie. Basically, when we were all ramping up and talking about Eternals, a bunch of the trades were going to come out and say, I don't know about this Eternals movie because this, and this happened. They didn't have the costumes completed, the sets weren't done, they rushed their pre-production. But the whole idea of sort of getting attention towards the film in sort of a negative way. But my take on this, and I think the take of anybody that's being reasonable, is that, first of all, it almost doesn't matter at all because now they're going to get the adequate time. But even if the date hadn't moved, I think the film would have been totally fine. I mean, this is an ensemble cast. My belief here is that the pre-production was likely rushed because it is an ensemble cast, and the hardest thing to figure out in a movie like this is literally scheduling. And so they probably rushed through, figured out how they could get all of these actors into the same sets and the sets they needed to be together, and then they were going to shoot those very important scenes, get the bulk of the footage, then maybe figure out what they needed to fill it in and go back for reshoots. And when it comes to the sets and the costumes, I just find people that are getting upset about this, or the fact that journalists were possibly going to try to attack the film negatively for not having this stuff complete, just really ridiculous. I mean, look at what Marvel does in post with their VFX. It's crazy. Do you guys remember when we first got the leaked images of Taskmaster and everyone thought he looked absolutely horrible, like something out of the Power Rangers? Well, now when you look at it in the actual trailers and what we will eventually see in the film, it looks absolutely incredible. And I mean, look at what they do with Tony Stark and Peter Parker in the MCU. They're very good at sort of getting reference and building on top of an actor in the visual effects department to make something look absolutely incredible moving forward. I mean, the whole Spider-Man suit is literally created in post. Tom Holland just walks around in gray pajamas for reference points, and then they just make the Spider-Man suit onto him, or at least the Iron Spider version. Now, the one aspect of this that I will admit is a little bit concerning is this whole idea of the script, right? Like, not having the script completely finished, that's a little bit worrisome, even to somebody like me, because story is paramount. That is what matters the absolute most. However, again, this is a real Marvel Studios situation. Recently, Taika Waititi really opened up about what was going on with Thor Ragnarok, and he admitted that while they did stick to the script and do a bunch of ad-libbing and just kind of having fun on the set, they then took all the footage they had, put together the film as they had it, decided where the weaknesses were, and then went back and did extensive reshoots to fit in all the different pieces that are needed to make the film really great. Marvel Studios does the Pixar thing. They literally make their movies in large part by committee, which Taika kind of talked about is one of the reasons why the quality is just so pristine when it comes to Marvel movies. They have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but everybody has the goal of making the best film possible, and they make a lot of changes to things. So the script itself not being finished isn't a huge deal as long as the main beats were in there and there was good stuff down there and they knew where they were going with stuff. I'm sure what'll happen is they'll take the footage that they have, they'll put it together, and then they'll decide what they need on reshoots. And later on in the year, hopefully once things are less restricted as far as how many people can be in different areas together, they'll go back, they'll do reshoots, and they'll punch it up. And again, I think the bottom line here is that it's now irrelevant, although it does sort of show you where a lot of different parties' heads were at with this scenario. I know right now there is this idea that Marvel's Phase 4 is starting very weak. I know that was already a narrative out there, and it looks as though a lot of journalists were holding on to stuff to sort of paint the Eternals in a negative light, right? I don't know if they necessarily want Marvel to fail. I'm not going to go that far, but I know there are people out there that do want Marvel to fail, and they're looking for anything they can to hold up negativity towards the Marvel system or the coming Marvel movies. But the point is, now that everything is delayed, we actually have the time, and I continue to talk to you guys about the silver lining with the delays in Hollywood, and Marvel is one of these companies that could benefit from these delays. Think about it. Phase 4 hasn't even started. We're about to get into Phase 4, so it's a good time to have this kind of a long delay. If there were script problems, they can clearly work on that sort of stuff remotely. The VFX team that Jeremy Conrad talked about, they lost a lot of big clients, but appears that they still have their contracts with Marvel and are working remotely on Eternals, and much of that work will be done over the next couple of months. So basically, by the time we see Eternals in February of next year, hopefully it doesn't have to be delayed again, this movie's going to be absolutely kick-ass. And as far as the Black Knight, man, I'm looking forward to this so much. I think that Kit Harrington Black Knight is going to be mind-blowing, and for him to stand next to the Eternals in their really cool costumes that we've already seen, I mean, it's got to be something very, very cool. I'm very much looking forward to that, and I hope that he doesn't die. I hope that Kit Harrington stays in the MCU for a long while, and we continue to see Black Knight kicking a bunch of ass. And so that's basically the news with this one, guys. Again, there were pre-production, rushing, and production problems with Eternals. Journalists knew about this, and they were holding on to it until the movie came out. It looks like a lot of those problems will be ironed out now. Also, it's confirmed we're getting comic book accurate Black Knight with the Kit Harrington character, and his costume is going to be majority digital, which isn't a problem for me, but I want to know, what do you think about all of this stuff? Let me know in the comment section below. And now let's shout out Dirty Guns. Indeed, Beast was the mutant that took over for Charles Xavier on the Illuminati after Charles Xavier was killed by Cyclops. So shout out to you, Dirty Guns, and I like that weird name you got. Now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know how much you've been paying attention to the rumor mill. What member of the Deviants was revealed in a Funko Pop toy leak to potentially be the main villain of Marvel's The Eternals? Answer that question in the comment section below. Again, I want to let you know, you awesome nerd, that here at the channel, we are working on and planning our big trivia contest. We're looking for teams of 3 and 4, and there's going to be a ton of awesome prizes. If you already have a team, email us, reach out, and get a slot in this coming competition. And if you're just an individual and you want to find a team, you can email us at thedenofnerds@gmail.com or direct message us on social media, and we will try to find a team for you. Click or tap over there to get lost down a nerdy rabbit hole. And as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.